Have you ever wondered about the stories of giants? These tales aren't just from one culture or one continent. They're everywhere, from the Bible to Mesopotamian tablets, from Greek myths to Native American legends. Giants are a constant theme in our shared history. The question isn't just did giants exist anymore. The real question is why did almost every ancient civilization believe they did? It's a global phenomenon that begs for an explanation. Let's start with some of the world's oldest texts. One of the most famous references is right in the Bible. In Genesis, there were giants in the earth in those days. These beings, known as the Nephilim, were described as mighty men of old, men of renown. But this isn't an isolated claim. Ancient Sumerian texts speak of powerful, godlike beings who walked among humans. Greek mythology is filled with titans and giants, enormous beings who predated the Olympian gods themselves. The ancient Book of Enoch even expands on this idea, describing giants as the offspring of heavenly beings and human women. You see the pattern: different cultures, thousands of miles and years apart, yet they tell a similar story. This isn't limited to the Old World. Native American tribes have incredibly detailed oral histories about giant races. They weren't just telling bedtime stories, they were preserving their history. The Paiute tribe of Nevada, for instance, spoke of the Sitka, a tribe of red-haired, cannibalistic giants who they eventually fought and destroyed in a final, decisive battle. These accounts were passed down for generations, not as metaphors, but as historical events. Similar stories of giant clans can be found in tribal traditions across North and South America. Interestingly, many of these ancient accounts connect the time of giants to a period just before a great global catastrophe. You've heard of the Great Flood, right? Well, flood myths aren't just in the Bible. They're found in Mesopotamia, in India, in Central America, and in African traditions. Nearly all of them describe a lost age, a world that was destroyed because something had gone terribly wrong. Some traditions claim that the giants were a primary reason for this destruction and were wiped out during the event. Others suggest that a few managed to survive, their memory lingering in the stories of our ancestors. Now, let's talk about physical evidence. Around the world, we find massive stone structures that raise some very uncomfortable questions. In Baalbek, Lebanon, there are foundation stones that weigh over 1,000 tons. How were they moved? We see Cyclopean walls in Peru and Greece, made of massive, irregularly shaped boulders fitted together so perfectly that you can't slide a piece of paper between them. Ancient people all over the world claim that giants built these places. Modern explanations rely on complex theories involving ramps, levers, and immense manpower. But we have no definitive answers. Could the simplest explanation that a stronger, larger race of beings was involved be the correct one? This leads us to an even more controversial topic: suppressed discoveries. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, newspapers were filled with reports of incredible finds: massive skeletons, some reportedly over 9 feet tall, oversized skulls with unusual features, entire burial mounds filled with giant remains. But where are these finds today? Most have been labeled as hoaxes, misidentified as animal bones, or have simply vanished from museum archives. The official story is that they never existed, but is it possible they disappeared because giants just don't fit into the accepted timeline of human evolution and history? Skeptics will argue that giants were always just symbolic. They represented the power of nature. They were allegories for rival tribes, or simply exaggerated memories of taller than average people. But symbolism doesn't fully explain the incredible consistency of the details across unrelated cultures. It doesn't explain why so many of these stories are tied to specific locations, physical landmarks, and detailed historical accounts of wars and interactions. And here's something to consider from modern science. Genetics has shown us that human size can vary dramatically based on genes and environment. Conditions like gigantism prove that the human body is capable of reaching extraordinary sizes. So, the idea of a lost human lineage, a branch of our family tree that was taller, stronger, and genetically distinct, isn't scientifically impossible. It's just inconvenient for the established narrative. So why does any of this matter? Because the existence of giants challenges everything we think we know about our origins, our evolutionary timelines, our religious interpretations, and our historical authority. If giants were real, then our history is fundamentally incomplete, and that idea makes a lot of institutions very uncomfortable. It suggests there are chapters of our own story that have been torn out. Let's leave you with a final thought. Perhaps giants weren't the monsters of fairy tales. Perhaps they were simply different, not better, not worse. Just a different form of humanity that shared this planet with our ancestors. And perhaps we didn't forget them. Perhaps we were taught to stop looking.